Impressive Jewels by Elisa Carter. Elisa Carter has been my consultant since inception of the Right Along with Vanessa morning show. So go to impressivejewels.net today. Get your little something. You deserve it. Are you tired of being stung by outrageous nail prices? Well, you don't have to worry about that at Queen Bee Nail Hive. Contact Queen Bee herself, servicing the Tampa Bay area. 813-414-1405. That's 813-414-1405. Queen Bee Nail Hive. Come be pollinated. This week's episode is sponsored by Dollhouse of Tampa Salon and Studio, where the inner doll is created. Styling services they offer are sew-ins, quick weaves, relaxers, facial waxing, eyelash extensions, and much, much more. It's time for you to find your inner doll. Contact Selena today, serving the Tampa Bay and surrounding areas of Florida. And make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Hello, 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 everyone. It is a new year, new season, new everything. So join me Friday on the Right Along with Vanessa morning show for another exciting topic and another word that's going to bring you the raw, real enlightenment and encouragement that you need for 2021. Join me, won't you? Stay in love. Start your 2021. Go to www.vanessaklinger.com. Click the free book giveaway button. Complete your details, and I will ship a free book to you. Stay in love.
This is thy kingdom come. Let the spirit of the Holy One pass over. Let your peace cover the earth. Lord, let your will be done. This is the time to take a stand, to let the world know that you can. Face tomorrow, but today is the day that you say, I will reign.
Hello, 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 everyone. How are you? How are you? I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator.
And I am Michelle, your motivator. Namaste. Bow to the divine presence.
Co-host.
In you.
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to Spiritually Speaking, everyone. We hope you guys have had a restful week. It's been an interesting week. And, Michelle and I were chatting a few minutes earlier before we came on. And these are biblical times. And only thing I have to say is just stay encouraged and stay focused on the end goal, on how it's going to happen.
Yes. That is where we have to stay focused, because if we're not going in, we're going to be without. If we've got to come out of the 3D illusion and go into the 5-dimensional, which is freedom and unconditional love, which is what God already had built this whole situation on, this whole universe on, our lives, and we lost sight of that. So now we've gone through 2020, we've gotten our vision back, and now we're seeing the uncovered things that is awakening, not just Christian people, not just other religions, but the universe. So everyone can be included in the awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that.
Right, because he said he'd pour out his spirit on all flesh.
Yeah.
And girl, let me share something with you. So I've been praising the Lord all weekend, so I had some praise music on. Mm-hmm. And I'm back there, and I just fed Hot Dog, and he goes into his playroom there, and he was just singing. I mean, he, and I thought something was wrong with him, right? Because he's just been very vocal lately. And I'm like, are you praising the Lord too, Hot Dog? And he was just smiling, just as happy. So I'm telling you, I mean, that's the way I interpret it. He's pouring out his spirit on all flesh so that we can finally come together in him. It's such an exciting time, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are in fear, I'm telling you, in that wrong space, you need to leave everything, that wherever that space you're in, and come boldly to the throne of grace to obtain the mercy, so that you can partake in the outpouring. It's truly a revival that's going on right now. I really believe that. I really believe that, co-host.
And most people can't see that because they're still asleep, or they're still in the old man. In that same scripture where he says he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh, he said that your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. He said your old men shall dream dreams, and your young man shall see visions. And the old man is still asleep. That's why he's still dreaming.
Wow.
But the new man is a visionary. It's coming forth.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Dropping nuggets already.
We have to come out of that old mentality, that old way of thinking, that normal, quote unquote, that we call it, way of thinking. Are you going to continue to dream? There's nothing wrong with dreaming as long as you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's what makes it a vision.
Yeah.
Because you are awake. You've taken that dream and you've allowed it to manifest into, yes, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the unconscious state. So when you walk into the visionary state, you walk into the consciousness, the spirit consciousness, your level of greatness, of growing to your authenticity and your greatest version of yourself. So that's why he's given everyone, all flesh, an opportunity to experience the spirit, so that they can come out a dreamer and become a visionary.
Yes, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I have been stalking social media. I've been all over it, and I'm telling you, I can actually tell you that there are so many people. We're gonna talk about Noah in a minute. There are so many people that are proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ, and just they're having this born again experience, girl. It's so exciting. It is so exciting. It's so exciting.
And so yesterday, I pulled into Burger King to get my kids something to eat. And as I got up to pay for the food, the lady said, the car in front of you have already paid your bill. So it's like the love, the unconditional love. Now, the people didn't know me, you know, so it's like the unconditional love is opening up. And the cashier was in tears, because I don't know if she's ever experienced someone doing that, but she was just more overwhelmed than me and my son were. But things like that are beginning to happen. We went to a basketball game for my kids' school. They let us in free. For what reason? Everybody else is paying, but they let us in free. So there are just small things, and I don't despise those things, where I can see evidence of the awakening, of the opening up of unconditional love. And it's exciting to me, although we have a lot of stuff going on, but the chaos has to happen before we can actually see the true consciousness. So it's all in line of God. Yes.
Yep. And if you people out there, if you know anything about the Bible, and you spend some time with the Lord, then you can start connecting these spiritual dots to see how, although it's what appears to be chaos and division, you don't have to be a part of that world. You can be a part of the world of what God has promised, the new heaven and the new earth, and how, and I wanted to ask you, co-host, because I know you my spiritual subject matter expert, and I was because of Revelation. Now, when all hell breaks loose, we're going to be out of here, aren't we? Isn't that when it happens? I mean, the rapture takes place, and then we up out of here. Is it?
Well, mentally, you're out of that.
Yeah.
We're seeing that people are literally taking, and I'm not saying that one day there won't be a time like that, but right now God is lifting us out of this mentality, slavery mentality. I've been doing on my meditation series of evolving from a slavery mentality. And I've been proclaiming all through 2020 that this is rapture season. So this is the season that God is taking us out of normal and putting us in supernatural. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, when all of this takes place, it won't affect you in the way that it's going to affect those that are still asleep. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there'll be a time where that physically may happen, but this time we're evolving like Noah did. This is the
Mm-hmm.
time where we're evolving from all of that violence, all of that hate, all of that fear into a new administration. As I was sharing with you, people
Yeah.
were talking about the Biden administration or the Trump administration, but God showed me it's he's the new administration. He is back on the throne. He's never been off the throne, but where the people are able to uplift him and see him as they've never seen him before. You cannot see him in a carnal mind. You cannot see him. And I'm not talking about with this eyesight, I'm talking about with the insight. You are going to be able to see because the cover is off. There is no reason that you won't be able to see. It's like it's just right there in your face. And so as we move towards that, we've got to move from that slavery mentality of thinking things are not going to work out or that we have to have a stimulus check. I still ain't got mine, so I know I don't have to have it. God is doing other stuff to surround that. But when you talk about the rapture, I still see all of these things as psychological, mental levels of where we are in our walk with God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's going to happen physically. But right now, I think God is just doing a mental thing. He's doing a
Absolutely.
transformation. We're
Well,
going to
as
cross through a balloon.
yeah, because he said, "Whatsoever you decree on earth shall be decreed in heaven." So, as above, so below. So when it starts happening here,
Yes,
it will
it goes there.
manifest here.
Yes.
And
So
you
what
know,
we've done, if we have allowed our body to be our mind, and it's
mm-hmm.
not created for that. And so
Mm-mm.
we went into a habit. And so our body is telling us what to do instead of our heart mind and then our head mind. And so that's why we're being led by an illusion. Your body does not have the mind to lead you. This is where your computer begins, your knowledge, your transformation. And so now we're taking that power back from that illusional body being the mind and putting it back into the heart.
Right.
So it's a lot of transforming and changing and adjusting, and it's a lot, but it's good.
It sure is. And this is where the rubber meets the road, where all those years you've been excuse me, praising the Lord and standing on his promises and all this stuff. Now it's time for everything for you to just really just start uh uh putting that on and wearing
Right.
that and standing in that, because this is what all that preparation was for. This is what, and so when everything was shut down,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I heard it is finished.
Yes.
I heard it's finished.
Right. And you can look at the finish as two things. Mean finish
Mm-hmm.
means over, or you can
Mm-hmm.
look at the finish, the shine of it, the light of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so as we begin to look at that, a lot of people saw it was finished in that they committed suicide, they lost their mind. Um, a lot of people can't deal with uh, they can't deal with not being in a normal state or doing everything the same thing at the same time in the same way in the same place, and they've gotten conditioned to that. And so then that's when our body takes over, when we go into a habit or a condition. And God didn't design it like that. So when it's time to move, when it's time to pack up your bags, when it's time to go to, you know how it was when you was at this school and then your parents moved and you had to go to a new school, and the anxiety that comes, I'm not going to know anybody, will they like me? Those are some of the things we're experiencing now in this movement. We're coming from a monument to a movement. We've been standing still long enough. Now it's time for us to move and just put the work in. And the work
Yeah.
is, like I said, this is a spiritual battle. So rioting, burning down, guns, uh, all of that is not usable in a spiritual battle. So that's just stuff that we're doing in vain. We've got to go in so we'll never be without. So
Right. And it's merely a reflection of the conflict. Dig this now, Cole. The conflict that's going on within some of us, not all of
yeah,
us.
right.
There's
Because it's the fight because the flesh wants to win. But but whichever one you feed the most is the one that has the most muscle. So some of us are wrestling with that flesh, and the flesh is going to be the flesh. You can't change the flesh. All the change happens within. So
right.
even the church has tried to change people in the flesh. You can't do that. You cannot make the flesh the word. The word, which is the spirit, has to become the flesh. So
Right.
a lot of the churches was doing it backwards. So
Right,
now everything
right.
has been reversed, and we're putting the word back first before the
Right.
flesh. So that's
Right.
where we are.
Right, right. And you're right, because it was like, okay, so okay, let's talk about that. So they were trying to get you to mirror your new sister. So you don't wear that anymore, you put this on.
Right.
You don't say that anymore, you say this now. And
Right.
that's why there were
Right.
so many people walking around like parrots.
Yeah.
And like in those the private schools where they all wore the same uniform, everybody was dressed the same, they talked the same. It's like, what kind of what and I was like, and but God is grace, His mercy endure forever, because we had to go through that experience.
Right.
For us to come to the realization and the understanding of knowing that it has to start within first, right?
Right.
So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, I'm trying to give a visual to for the viewers to understand where we're coming from, because God's doing a new thing, and for some of you, you've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for God to he turned the page, and in 2020 was when He dusted off our spiritual eyeballs for us to really see what was going on, for us to really hear with our heart what was really going on, and to see all of the ugly and what was buried and what was private. It was all coming to the surface.
Right.
So now that we've crossed over into 2021, all that's ugly and private is coming to the surface. And it ain't nothing like a good, I don't really like to watch horror movies, but the ones that I really like are the psychological ones where you didn't even know that was a bad guy. You like googly goo. What is that? And then also I was thinking about this week, and we're gonna talk about Noah, y'all. I'm talking about this think about this week. Like them what was it, the Mission Impossible movies where they take off the mask and you wasn't even them. You were like, whoa, this is what the unveiling.
Yes.
It's the unveiling.
Yes.
Of what was hidden.
Yes.
It's happening right now.
And so the mask that we're now required to wear is giving you a kind of a visual of what we've been walking around as all the time. We've always been up under a mask. We haven't been able to be our true, authentic self. We have been conditioned. We have our mental has been governed by the government, and they've instilled the fear that if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And so when you're coming out of slavery mentality, you're coming out of thinking that you need to depend on someone to get you through. A lot of people say, I'm just depending on God. God doesn't want you to depend on Him. He wants you to be independent in Him. And as you begin to do that, the connection or the joining with Him causes you to make a step as He makes a step. So the masks, yes, the masks are coming off. The unconsciousness is coming off. Now people see how uncomfortable it is to breathe with a mask on. How uncomfortable it is to be true. And, it's like my son said, Mom, it's like now wearing a mask is normal.
Mm.
But those that are awake, understand that this is just a movie that we are watching, and we're seeing ourselves in the mirror, and it's causing us to come forth to the front line and say, wait a minute, I've been doing this even when it wasn't Halloween. I had on a mask. I acted like this with my church friends, and I acted like this with my coworkers, and all the masks that we wore, and we lost who we really were.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes confused what mask we had on, and we showed something to the wrong crew that we shouldn't have showed. So now when you come to your authentic self, you don't have to compete with anybody. You just be yourself. Not try to be, but just be yourself.
Just
So
be
all of
yourself.
this is all of this is in this reversal, this trance, and across, through, and beyond. We're at the Red Sea right now. We've come out of slavery, and we got some substance, but now we're facing the Red Sea. So it's kind of like what we're going to move into with Noah. What do you do? What do you do when you're facing that? What do you do when the rain stops? Because for some people, the trouble stopped, and they were so surprised, and they cannot, at this point, decide what's really going on. It's like they're stunned now that we're out of this situation. And there have been some avenues that have been open for people now that would not have been open unless this pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Now what you gonna do?
Yeah.
The slavery mentality says you should have left us where we were. At least where we were, we had some normalcy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and that's why you have to be careful what you wish for. You have to be careful what you ask God for, because all of his promises are yes and amen. So when you ask him for something, when you ask him to deliver you out of this bondage, when you ask him, Lord, I'm tired of this, then it's just a matter of time for that you to see the manifestation of God's answer, which is always yes. So leave it
now
all
we're getting what we prayed for.
Yes.
But we didn't ask the method in which we were going to get it. And since we don't see it like we thought we were going to get it, we can't see it. So we asked to be delivered. We asked to be set free. And now that it's happening, the trance is causing us to doubt what we asked for. Like the children of Israel say, you brought us out here so that we could come here and die. We could have stayed where we were. Normalcy. They were conditioned to that. So.
Yep. And the great thing about it is our prayers are being answered. We're receiving what we asked for, but we had the playbook all along. All
the way. We just didn't read it. Like your medicine says, for best results, read the instructions. So the Bible it's an open book test.
Basic instructions.
Yeah, it's an open book test. Read well, what happened? He didn't say read the instructions. He said study. And so there's a difference between reading and studying.
Mm-hmm.
Studying requires other books, other information, pencil and paper,
research,
meditation. Yes, and that's what we're going to have to do, because God has told me this year you're going to have to study so you can know. Not believe. We walked out of believing. We're in the knowing stage now.
Right.
The believing was the pediatrics to the movement that we're in. Once you come out of the pediatrics, you can no longer stand in that and be totally awakened. You're still going to look for normal, and you're looking for normal, and it's an illusion, and you'll never find it.
Never find it. So focus on the promise. You have the playbook, ladies and gentlemen. And as prophets of God, we are here to announce that we are in the days of revelation. So might I encourage each of you that instead of reading the revelation with fear and trembling, read revelations with excitement and anticipation, so that you can connect the spiritual dots as to what's been going on all these years in the unveiling of what's happening. You know,
Right.
what really makes, and you know, what really makes a good movie is a movie where you can't tell the good guys from the bad guys until you reach that climactic moment where it's a plot twist and you go, wow.
Yeah, the
But
wheat and the tare grow up together until harvest time. So you couldn't tell who
a
was
week from
who.
a tear.
But now the cover is off. It's harvest time. So the only reason, I think I had a discussion with someone about this, the reason they could not cut down the tare, and they knew it was tare in some form, they knew it wasn't wheat, they may not have known the name for it, but if you would have cut down the tare, you would have cut down some of the wheat. So
Yep.
they would wait until harvest time, and then when they pull everything up, then they would separate what's good and what's wheat and what's tare. So yeah, we had to grow
And
up together.
you know, a way for you to identify a
Mhm.
wheat from a tear is a
Mhm.
tear stands straight up, but a
Okay.
wheat kind of bend,
Okay.
as in observance to
A
the sun.
bowing. Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
So are you bowing to the sun that's shining, the spirit that's raining and pouring down? Are you bowing or are you standing up?
Yeah.
This is how you can identify
So
and wheat from a tear.
and so it's harvest time.
It's
And so
harvest time.
it says the laborers are few. The harvest is plenteous. But
Mhm.
you have to move from your slavery mentality to become a laborer, because we're
Mhm.
still thinking we have someone over us to the point of telling us who we are. The only one, and God is not even over us, He's in us. And
Mhm.
so that's why we have to go in. We've been looking up, to the sky and talking to the sky, and we've missed it, because he said, my kingdom is within. And so now you have to go in order to be an overcomer, not a survivor, but an overcomer. An
Right.
overcomer comes over it. A survivor may be all right today and not tomorrow, but
Right.
an overcomer is going over and beyond to that purpose place that God has surrendered for us.
Right. And we wrapped that up. We just because I know both of her, she and I are, we are sisters in spirit. So I felt compelled and inspired to just kind of come and just kind of encourage everyone
Yes,
and
yes.
kind of preface
Fear
what we're
not.
going to be talking about tonight. Don't be
Right.
afraid. Pick up your Bible, app, go on YouTube and listen to the book of Revelation now with your ears cleaned out, because consider Michelle and I those spiritual Q-tips that you're not supposed to be putting in your ear, to get that out so you can really hear,
Yes.
really hear, and use your spiritual imagination to connect those dots and go, my goodness.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is a great time study to show yourself approved,
You've
and then
got
you'll
to
be
do
able
that
to.
this year. You have
You
to
got
do
to.
that. It's
You
not
got
an
to.
option anymore. It's not an option if you want or if you will to come out to the space and the place that God has prepared you. You must know the next step. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to see it. You're going to have to hear it. And you're not going to hear it with your physical ears. You're going to hear it with your ear and your heart. And you've got to have heart coherency. You've got to be connected to your heart in order that your head can line up and that your life is back in balance.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Mm-mm-mm. All right. All
It's
right. So
something.
it's exciting. It's like we're all
It
in the
is.
movie theater and everybody looking at the movie differently. And so
Yeah.
I encourage you guys, pop your bag of popcorn and enjoy the show. But while you're enjoying it, have that revelations open and go and just keep a look out for the revelations to come to you, because they coming.
Yeah.
They coming.
Because we
All
are
right.
the light. Yep. We are the
Yes.
light. Hmm.
Yes. All right. We talking about Noah tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Noah, what do we do when the rain stops? Okay, so go ahead, co-host, and lead us into Genesis chapter 8. That's Genesis chapter 8, chapter 7 and 8 for some of you to do your homework afterwards, but we're focused on chapter 8 tonight. We're talking about Noah, and we talked about the flood last week. So what done happened now, co-host?
Well, the 40 days and the 40 nights have passed that
Mm-hmm.
it has rained. And as I said to you last week, we are moving from raining, RAINING, to raining, REIGNING. And so the rain that we're experiencing or have experienced for the whole 2020 is moved into 21. We must know what to do when the rain is stopped. And so Noah, being rest and comfort, is what his name is. So we must know how to rest and be comfortable in the new. We must know that things are not going to be like they were. We must know that there is a new heaven and a new earth, and we're in the fifth dimension, and we're back on track. That's the key thing. We're back on track with the being with God and knowing that his inner power is within us. And God remembered Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth and the waters. That's called aswedge. It just means it stopped. So, so there's a time and a place that God is taking us to. So we're with Noah, but Noah is giving us some symbolism and some indication of what we're about to deal with. The rain is stopped. And for the first line to say, and God remembered Noah, it means God has not forgotten you. And although you may have dealt with some serious things, a lot of death, sickness, financial ruin, just a whole lot of things, God has not forgotten you. And whatever you do, don't give up on God. He has not given up on you, because just as he remembered Noah, he is remembering you in everything that you're doing. It says, and every living thing, every part of you that's living, everything that concerns you, God has remembered that. And so he told Noah, the rains have stopped. Now the fountains, in verse 2, the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So first thing, that says to me that the rain was not from the enemy. The rain came from God. And so God has, he knows what is needed to cause us to get back to the new administration, to get back to the place and space where we left him. He didn't leave us. And so as he was telling Noah that, he was like, I'm sure Noah felt like, okay, what now? Because all of us are kind of saying, what now? What do we do now? The new administration. I know we're looking at Biden as the new administration, but I'm looking at God as the new administration. He's always been the administration. We just took our eyes off of that. So now we are being placed in the clarity, in the vision, in the sight that he is the king on the throne. And so it said that the rain was stopped, and God stopped it. So don't feel like because they're saying the virus is getting worse or there's a different strand. I'm not telling you not to be safe, but I'm telling you not to hear what they're saying. Whose report are you going to choose to believe? If God says you're healed, are you going to believe what the media is saying? And so as Noah begins to move out of his slavery mentality of normal, of what he thought was normal, can you imagine if God called you and said, I want you to build this ark. Vanessa, I want you to build this ark, and I want you to get certain people to put on it. And he says, because for 40 days and 40 nights, nothing is going to be like you know it. That's just what he said last year. If you were listening, he told you to go in, quarantine, go into your ark of safety, go into your ark of the covenant, renew your vows with me, get married again, renew those vows so that when the rain stops, you'll know what to do. Go ahead and jump in. I see your eyes twitching.
Girl, co-host, you know me too well. Yeah, because it was, and for, and we just, I know, and I believe in my heart that although some are just now, getting it, it's just now clicking, that it's still not too late. And, because the 40 days that represent that time and for you to really get to know thyself and reconnect back with God. And I'm seeing it. I'm a witness to what I'm seeing out there in social media world about how everybody's just waking up and everybody's on fire for, a revival took place in 2020. It really did. A number of people who were isolated in their homes, they conducted the due diligence by researching and studying to show themselves approved. And this is how when after you have studied, the way I study, this is how I study. Okay, so I gotta hear it, I gotta see it, I gotta do it, and then I got to process it, which means I'm going to be doing the dishes and I'm going to be thinking about it. I remember when I was earning one of my degrees, and I remember it was statistics, and I'm noodling on that formula, and I'm going through it, and I'm calculating, and I'm working it out in my head, and I'm referring to a paragraph or something or a video that I heard. That's studying. So a number of people during the pandemic were studying. They would sit there, they go, maybe you couldn't go anywhere, but maybe you go for a walk and you thought about what you just saw, what you just heard, and you consulted. You went in and you consulted with spirit, and spirit approved you by giving you the answers that you needed. And so now so many people have been waking up and coming out and just being on fire. They are revived. It says the dead in Christ will rise first. That's what I'm witnessing right now. All of these people who had Christ already in them that was dead has been resurrected within their hearts, and they are coming up. They are rising up. They are waking up first. So it's, Noah's them in that ark. Can you imagine being in that ark with all those animals and just, the storms and the winds and the rains, and you're wondering if you built it right. You're wondering if everything's all connected. You wonder if it's going to all fall apart, and you are totally trusting on what God told you to do.
That's key. And that's going to be key for right now. Totally trusting.
It feels like any moment it could fall apart, and you're like, wait a minute. I followed the instructions to a T, even though people were laughing at me and doing that, and so far, can you imagine the day one was probably okay because it was just a little drizzle, then day two rain, then day three, but then by day 20, everybody in the ark, they go like, God, how long is this going to take? You got to put up here that, and then the animals, you're trying to feed them, and then it's starting to stink, and you be like, wait a minute, and you have to totally rely on what God promised you. I got you. You are safe. Do not open the windows. Don't look out. You focus on what I told you and what I promised you, and you just rock. And you rocking, and then the waters are getting higher, and then you start to see you see somebody's little house float by you. All this stuff is going on when you are in the midst of a storm.
Right. It's the mentality. And like I keep telling you, the virus is totally mental. Not totally mental, but a major part of it is mental. Because if you don't get your mental state together, then it's going to cause your body to follow what you're thinking.
Right.
We don't understand or understand that fear causes your brain to shut down. And if your brain shuts down, because it's in emergency mode, when it's in emergency mode, it doesn't have a need to grow any new cells. It doesn't have a need to expand. It's just in the fight or flight mode. And can you imagine just staying in that mode for year after year after year? So if your brain cells are not expanding, if they're not growing because you're still in emergency mode of fear, then you're not going to grow. It's just causing you to evaporate. And so That's why God said, I didn't give you that spirit. But the tools that you have to use is love, power, and a sound mind. And
Right.
we've been really trying to establish a opposite of love. There's really nothing that can be opposite of love. It's like there. We've been saying hate is the opposite of love, but hate is the absence. Fear is the absence of love. If God's love is unconditional and you're fearing, then there's a condition that's keeping you from the unconditional love. So we've got to go back to our first love. When we talk about revelation, we got to go back to the first unconditional love that we were created by. God so loved the world that he gave. And
Mm-hmm.
so we got to return back to that because that's what he built this universe, this world on that foundation. Until
Mm-hmm.
we get that, we're going to continue to have all of this. It said in the verse, it said that God sent a wind. Where did we find that? He said in 81, he said, God made a wind to pass over the earth. So the wind is in our presence. If I don't know about you, but here in Georgia, there was a wind that was hitting yesterday,
It was
and it
windy
was
here
a
too yesterday.
yes, there was
I remember.
a cold wind that was hitting yesterday, and that wind made you hurry up and get in your car, get in the house because it was like it was too much almost. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's blowing a wind so that we can get used to his aspects, his promises, everything that connects us with him. So that's why I'm excited because I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing things I didn't ever think I'd see or didn't know I would be able to see. I was
Mm-hmm.
still in that mentality of normal. Man,
Mm-hmm.
they had us. They had us. Oh, they had us. Even the very elect, they had us. They had us. They
A
governed
strong
our
delusion.
mental so bad that we forgot. They tried to make us forget that we forgot who we were.
And
So,
that's the great thing about all of this. We keep going back to that because it's appropriate. But the great thing about all of it was that it had to play out.
yes.
I've always said there's got to be somebody had to play the bad guy. I've always because I never could make sense out of someone being the way that they were. Why would they be? And then my rational my moon is in Sagittarius, so I think like a Sagittarian. So it's always something where I always see the best side of everything. So it would always come and say, somebody's got to play the bad guy in order for you to see the opposite of what you were expecting. So, and I would always say that's how my approach was. So it
Hmm.
had to play out the way that was because we were brought up reading the Bible. We're hearing the Bible stories in church. We're praising God. We're excited about how God moved, how God did everything. And we took our eye off the bad guy. And all through the scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament, it talks about the bad guy.
Yes.
And, it's interesting because was it 2019 when that song went viral, that Billie Eilish song, I'm the bad guy. So all this stuff, because I'm that's what I was doing all 2020. I'm connecting the dots. I'm like, okay, so now we're going to see who the bad guy is and all this stuff. So all throughout the scriptures was telling us, and we had a foreknowledge of what was to come. But in order for it to really play out, I really believe we had to be asleep. And then when his spirit began to pour out on our flesh, we began to really wake up and start to see what was going on. And, when the enemy comes in like a flood. So enemy put everybody in their house, locked us up. We couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do nothing. All we had, we had our needs were met. We were able to stay safely in our home. So all we had to do was spend time with the Lord and ourselves and really make peace with that. And he said, okay, now I can show you something about
And so
you.
that's what I'm saying. What are we going to do now when the rain stops?
Yeah. So now
Are
the
we
rain
going,
stopped.
right, we'll be able to come out of the ark.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we going to do with the land? God says, I'll give you the land that you see. If you're asleep, you cannot see the land that he is offering to you, the land of milk and honey. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to continue to see that you're a slave, that you're under this mentality. I keep saying this is not about color. This is about consciousness. This has
Yes.
nothing to do with
Ooh, that's
color. It
sociology.
has
Let
to
me
do
tell you.
with consciousness. And
Yeah.
so while we're focusing on color, mm, I just
Girl.
felt something. While we are focusing on color, we are missing a part of our consciousness that's going to take us away from that. Now we are all slaves. It's not just the people of color. We are all slaves because they've gotten all of our minds. And that's how the riots come. That's how the anger comes. It's okay to protest, but the things that we resist so much, we spend so much time on the resistance that the energy that we could have put that same energy on the things that we will to happen rather than the things that we will not to happen. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you
Mm-hmm.
put that kind of resistance on that, you're putting everything you got into, I'm not kicking Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. Yes. Are they
Yes,
doing
I
some
agree.
things to people of color that are out of the ordinary? Yes, yes, they are doing that. And someone does has to stop and say, okay, enough is enough. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying we're putting so much in that color that we're losing consciousness, which means we're
Right.
going back to sleep.
Right. Which was a key uh, uh, element and tactic from the Antichrist.
Yeah,
Okay. So if I program them to think that there's something there when it isn't,
yeah,
then I can manipulate. You
yeah,
know, I think I said that Friday or one of them day where all the while programming you, conditioning your consciousness to believe a
yeah,
lie. You know,
yeah.
programming you, making you think this when it's not, and all the while, spirit is waiting for you to finally disconnect from 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 the matrix
Mm-hmm.
to really see and wake up so that you can adopt Christ consciousness so that you can see, really see. And it can be frightening, it can be scary, but once you emerge from the ark of safety, you should be ready to see how a new world that God created, the
Yeah,
result of the flood that
yeah.
he had to bring upon the earth.
Had to. It's not. You can rebuke the devil all you want to, but it's coming from God. And it's coming. That's why he say all things work for the good.
All
And
things.
so if we quote that scripture, but when it's time to live it, we forget about it.
Mhm.
you know,
And
we we
and it's not it's the result of what we have been consuming,
yeah,
right? We've
yeah.
been programmed to consume because that's what we've been conditioned to
Mm,
believe.
mm.
So now we crossed over into that. So now we have to really allow ourselves to put ye on the Lord Jesus, put on his way of thinking, his consciousness, and
Yeah.
and disconnect from the matrix.
Right. And as we move through this week, you have got to stay focused and mindful that God is the new administration and that all things are working for our good and that no weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper and that this is a spiritual battle. It has nothing to do with flesh. And the one that you feed the most is the one that is going to be the one that stands up. If you keep rolling that through your head, when and you're seeing things that are going on, it's going to take you immediately out of your mind consciousness into your supernatural consciousness so that you can hear what the spirit is saying and not what the media is saying. They say the word media comes from the word Maya, which means unknown or deception. So it's like they're telling you, I'm the media, I'm deceiving you. The television, I'm telling a lie about this vision. So if we don't stop thinking that we got to see the news to know what's going on, if I promise you, if you stay connected, God is going to show you trouble way off. So whether you see the news or not, prepare yourself, prepare your mind, prepare your spirit. And as we move forward, I told you, if we all come to the front of the line, we'll get blessed at the same time. Yep. And then it takes out all of the challenges. It takes out the jealousy. Oh, well, she got more than I have, or he didn't get that. All of us can be blessed at the same time. It's going to cut down on crime. It's going to cut down on killings. It's going to cut down on a lot of stuff because God said, peace I give you, and peace I leave you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're just trying to enlighten you guys onto a better way, onto the way of what gives us peace, and, you know, on what, in my opinion, and how I really believe that this is God. I mean, when you finally understand and know the difference and know what real love is and what it looks like, what it feels like, then you won't have an issue with, you know, that, you know, you adopt that characteristic of God, you that ability where you want to give and unconditional love. It just comes naturally to you to be that way.
Happens. Yeah, just like yesterday. I didn't know those people in front of me. It just comes out. And that's how God wants all of us to be. Not, you know, just what are we so mad about? What are we so angry about? What are we so unforgiving about? Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Why am I so upset with her or him? You know, it's probably a past situation. 9 times out of 10, it's in the illusion state because it's already done happened. And then they say that you never remember a situation exactly like it happened because your brain is always changing. So it's like, it's like you never remember last week like it actually happened. But when you tell it again, you're going to tell it like you see it now, not like you saw it then.
Mm-hmm. I have nothing against, you know, people, whatever they choose to do, but I think it was March, but I stopped watching, you know, news. They say, well, what if there's a storm coming? You in Florida, a hurricane. I'm like, believe it or not, if something like that's happening, I'm gonna hear it. Somebody gonna say something. I'll get a text message. Somebody gonna call me or something. I said, if whatever I need to know, I will be informed on what I need to be. I just don't want to consume that type of energy, because I found that when I did, I was always afraid, and I had this cloak of fear upon me and wondered why, you know, fearful things happened. You know, so when you know better, you do better, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, what are you allowing yourself to consume every day?
What are you going to do when this rain stops? That's my question. What are you going to do after the rain? Will you return back to your same foolishness? Or will you expand your greater consciousness and allow God to speak to you? Now, there's a possibility the internet could go out this week. If the social medias go out, what are you going to do?
You've had a whole year to study, and, you know,
we've been coming on here every Sunday trying to give you something. We started with Revelations. We gave you the light. Now we're going back to the beginning to make your foundation. You know, people still don't want to listen. They rather listen to some screaming than some teaching. That's when your body is caught up in the emotion. If a person not screaming or hooping, then they're not preaching or they're not teaching. But when the hoop stop and you come down, where are you landing?
Or if someone decides to give you a different type of meal and you're so used to eating peanut butter and jelly, and they bring you couscous and avocado toast and shrimp, and you be like, what's this? I want my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're so used to of what you're consuming that when something brings you something that's different, it's still food and more and healthier for you. It's different. You know, are you open enough to say, oh, I'll try it. I'll try it. Sure, I'll try it. You know, I've tried caviar. I don't really care for it. I don't really, you know, it's just my thing. But I tried it. I'm like, no, nothing. I'm okay.
We have to add something new to our experiences so that our brain can continue to be healthy and expand. If we're not doing something new and different and we're doing the same thing, that's why I think that Alzheimer's and what's the other one? Dementia are so prevalent these days because we're doing stuff the same thing. We're not looking for anything new. We don't want to hear about nothing new. We don't want to read. We don't want to find out new information. We don't want to study. And it's put us in the monument. It's caused our brain to shrink. It has caused us to go lower in our authenticity. Now we're just duplicators and we're not creators. And so our brain is like, well, they don't need me, so I'm gonna shut down.
I'll just go to sleep. They just gonna sit there and watch it and get. I'm reminded. Remember that Batman movie where Jim Carrey was, you know, he had a power source to everybody and everything, and he was sucking all the power from it because everybody was sitting there in front of the TV like this, and all that they were all there was just being their life was just being sucked out of them, and he's just consuming all that power that's going in. That's what that was. We were giving our energy to a source of power that was not of God.
Yes. That's the whole thing.
We're creating our own nightmare.
Yes. So the new administration is in.
And go within and start imagining that, girl, let me stop.
So no matter what happens this week.
No matter what.
This is like the final whatever. Before the new administration comes into being, the new awakening, the grand inauguration, the king is walking in and we're bowing to the king because we are so glad that this is the year of royalty and riches. And as we begin to come and receive as God has given us, we're going to live, love, and laugh. We're going to enjoy our lives, and we're going to be all we can be in this present moment. I'm excited. I am.
As am my co-host, as am I. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to leave you with this. I really hope and pray and wish that the takeaway from this is I've decided that I'm going to disconnect from the source of power that was not designed, that did not have my best outcome. I'm going to disconnect from that, and I'm going to reconnect with Christ consciousness. I'm going to reconnect with what God has promised me. I'm going to reconnect with and start and allow my energy to create and mentally create through my imagination that new heaven and new earth that I want to be a part of, where God is the new administration of my life. Allow God to be the new administration, not some Democrat or Republican or whatever. Allow God to be the new administration of your life.
Yes. Receive it. It's a gift. It's a present. Receive it. Woo, I feel that right there. I know we got to go. But baby,
Yes.
I feel that right there. If you can just go right there, all is well.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much. As you can see, this is not your typical Bible study. We talk about Noah just a little bit, but we allow Spirit to download to us and provide to you what you needed to give you the encouragement and enlightenment that you need in order for you to finally stand in your source of truth as being the God imitator that you've always wanted to be. It's high time for you to stand in the righteousness of who God is and be who you were created to be.
In this present moment.
All right. I gotta go, girl. I gotta go. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, podcast listeners, social media. Thank you so much for your comments, your sharing, your likes. Thank you so much for catching us on the replay here on our social media pages, YouTube. Thank you. Hey, mommy, I love you. Thank you so much, everyone. Hey, family. Thank you. Stay safe. Get ready. And just, stay in peace. Stay in peace. Stay in peace. Co-host, I know that whatever happens next week, you and I be wherever we gonna be, because we're gonna be in Christ Jesus. We're gonna be, if we have to be caught up in it, we're gonna be where Jesus is. We're gonna be in the new God administration. So whatever. Hey, Mama, I see her. You go, whatever. He is the author and finisher of my faith. Yes, he is, mommy. Yes, he is. So whatever happens next week, let's just say until we meet again. How's that?
Yes. That'll work.
So
Namaste.
Next week, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. Yeah. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have Ron E. Jefferson, our gospel correspondent, that's going to be coming in. So excited. He's going to be sharing with us some updates and insights on upcoming gospel artists and teachers and preachers and all of that great stuff. And he's going to be providing us with some of his spiritual insight that he wants to impart to us. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sharing. Again, social media, thank you for catching on the replay. And until next week, remember, next Friday, right along with Vanessa Morning Show, if I'm still here. 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Girl, I'm excited. I'm serious. I'm ready. I'm like, I am. I'm like, okay. All right. Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right along with Vanessa Morning Show. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, namaste.
Yes. Bow to the divine presence in you.
And stay in love. Hello, everyone. Vanessa Klinger here, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. Would you like to be a guest on our talk show, Spiritually Speaking, with my co-host, Michelle Massey Washington? Well, go out to the website, www.vanessaklinger.com, complete the form, and your sponsorship includes a guest spot. We look forward to meeting you and highlighting your product, service, or event. Stay in love. Thank you for enjoying the show. If you have an awesome product or service that you would like Vanessa to promote, go to www.vanessaklinger.com/show sponsor, and we'll get back to you. We have monthly sponsorship programs, ad slots, all kinds of wonderful, great things to promote your product or service. Contact Vanessa today.